Hi, I'm going to show you how to roll out your holiday cup. I started the video and it kind of froze. So the first thing I did was I pulled some of the clay off and I made a little tiny pinch pot. Just like you did with some of your other projects, you just stick your thumb in there and then you add water to the pinch pot. I'm going to set that aside. And I also really carefully cut out my pattern. Okay. So it's really important that you do careful cutting of your pattern. If you aren't careful when you're cutting a pattern, sometimes the clay doesn't fit together. So you want to be super careful and slow when you're cutting, in order to make sure that we're going to make a cup and you want to make sure the bottom fits on the fits to the side. Okay, so I cut these out really carefully. I did them before the camera froze. I'm going to set them aside, and then I gave you each a blob of clay. It looks sort of like a big round blob. What you want to do is we want to shape this blob so that it is long and thin, so that when we're rolling it out, our pattern is going to fit on the clay. So remember, when I roll, I put my sticks on either side. Don't set your sticks aside and just start rolling, because if you get this slab too thin, this is as thin as the slab can get, is this 1/4 inch thickness. If you start making a really thin potato chip slab, some of you made really thin clay faces, you can't, it'll collapse when you go to make a cup out of it. So I'm going to start rolling, and every time I roll, I'm going to lift up, because what I don't want, and I also want the bottom to be really smooth, what I don't want is for my pattern to not fit. So I'm going to roll a little bit this way to make sure it's wide enough. I gave you plenty of clay, so you should be able to roll out the side wall of your cup. I'm also going to clean off my desk a little bit so that I don't have little bits on my cup. And then again, my sticks go back to either side, and I'm going to roll it out so it's looking nice and good. And I'm going to roll and lift, because I don't want it to stick to my table or stick to the desk that I'm working on. And I'm getting a little bit long here, so I'm going to cut this off so that it doesn't go off my table. I'm going to set that aside. If you get any air bubbles, I'm getting an air bubble, so I'm just going to punch holes in the air bubbles, air pockets, because I don't want those. And then I'm going to keep rolling. And every time I roll, forward and back, I am lifting. If you don't do that, it will stick to the table, and then you will have a really hard time getting it off your table, and you'll be sad. So I'm running into the computer to the camera right now, so I'm going to trim mine a little bit, set some aside so that I don't run into the camera. And then I'm going to lift it again and lift it and roll. I want to keep going until I can't get it any flatter, right? So I can't make it go any more flat than it already is. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift it. Oopsies. I'm going to lift it, and I want to make sure that I have a big enough space, which I do, for me to put my pattern on top of. Okay? And you should have plenty of clay. The important thing is shaping it long before you roll it out. Okay? So here's my slab. I'm taking my long pattern piece. I'm taking my knife, and I'm going to trim really carefully. I'm taking pictures of this because I'm making a slideshow for you too, so I hope that's okay. I'm trying to do both at the same time. And then I'm going to trim this part. And I'm just following the pattern. Look at how my hand is holding the pattern down so that it doesn't move. And also the clay kind of holds it down because the clay's wet and the pattern is paper, right? And so then I have completely trimmed out my shape, and I can get rid of all the extra. And I have a shape that looks like this. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I want to score the sides. So I'm going to score this right along here. Got to take a picture of that. And then I'm going to score the other part right here along the side. Score, score, score. Score, 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 score. And then I'm going to attach those two together. So I'm going to gently pick it up, upside down. And I'm going to dip a little bit of slip. Here's my little slip cup. I'm putting a little slip in, and I'm slipping either side, and I'm attaching them together. And they're attached upside, the cup is upside down. So I want to have the small part here and the wide mouth of the cup down below on the bottom of my desk. And then I am just smoothing this. I'll turn it towards you. I'm smoothing the crack closed. I don't want to see this crack, so I'm going to smooth it closed. So I'm going to just take a quick picture of this, of me smoothing the crack closed. Uh-oh. I think my camera has clay on it and it's not wanting to do its thing. Here we go. All right, so I'm going to smooth it really nicely because I don't want water or hot chocolate or milk or whatever I drink out of my cup. I don't want it to leak out onto my hand or whoever I give it to. I don't want it to leak out on that person's hand. So I'm doing a pretty careful job smoothing it. Hopefully you can see that it's pretty well smoothed on the outside. You can dip your finger in the slip and kind of smooth it over. All right, I'm leaving it like this, just on its, with the bottom facing up. And then I'm going to roll out, my, my bottom of my cup. Okay, so I have to roll out a shape that's going to fit the circle, right? So I'm going to just take a little piece. Every time I roll and lift. And this is really wet. My work area is really wet, so I'm going to just clean it off. Right? So I just want to clean it off so that I don't have a lot of clay sticking to it. I'm putting my clay between my sticks. Right? Always between my sticks. And then I'm going to roll and lift. Roll and lift. And sometimes if I'm going to roll and lift once because this desk is really sticky. When I'm at home, I have canvas fabric on my work table where I roll slabs. So I'm only going to roll once and lift. Once and lift. Once and lift because it's being very sticky. Once and lift. Once and lift. Once and lift. Until it can't roll any farther, right? That's as thin as it's going to get. And then I'm going to make sure it lifts off. I'm going to take my